right, hey guys, what's up? Steve Sleepy, welcome back to the channel. I'm currently kind of under the weather, but this next video, this is not for everybody. So if you're expecting our normal videos, then just skip this one. This is not going to appeal to you. But if you are a vintage scooter fetishist like me and the rest of the Cleveland Moto guys are, then this video might interest you a lot. So one of my favorite things when I'm hanging out with the Cleveland Moto guys, Phil and everybody, is that occasionally it gets thrown into some old-timey talk about scooter racing and tuning scooters and stuff. And why is that a big deal? Well, between Phil and Tom, you probably have in the top 20 of the world's most knowledgeable vintage scooter guys, period. Phil pretty much owns one of every vintage scooter known to man. He has carcasses and shells waiting to be refurbished. Like, the guy is legit. He's been doing it for as long as I've known him, and even before that, and that goes back 25 years. So when they get into it, it gets really interesting, and I love to sit back and listen. I'll ask a few questions and whatnot, but the stories that come out, the racing stories, the tuning stories and everything. So basically, I'm just bringing you guys along with us to the back side of the trip where we're hanging out in the hotel. Again, if you're not into vintage scooters, just I'm sorry, this one's not for you. If you're into vintage scooters, definitely. It's long, it's 45 minutes, but the stories in there and some of the information about cheating to get faster, I think you're really going to dig it. So, all right, here we go. Enjoy.
So, many years ago, a doctor said, you're done. Yeah. Because he went from racing BMX to racing motor scooters to getting a Honda GP 150, 125, and racing a Honda GP, and then moving up there. And I mean, I'm not joking. He has natural talent that I've never seen.
Oh, yeah.
That no matter what it is, you hand it to him, he just goes, right?
I think I met him once. And it was just like at a scooter rally in passing. But like, now I've heard all these stories.
He's got
what I meet.
He's got that legend. That Steve McQueen calm cool.
Oh yeah, legendary.
Hey brother, can I borrow smoke? Like the joke was
I probably met him when I was like 2 years into scootering.
He literally would be on his knee doing 120 miles an hour on his knee in blue jeans, and he would stop the bike and go, "Hey brother, can I borrow smoke?" and keep going.
There's just certain legends within
to move it into the legend of fact. When we were racing, when you're racing on a circuit, and the circuit is a long circuit, you get 5 laps, right? You MotoGP, you're a 2-point-some mile track. Yeah. The race goes for 5 laps, and when you're on a kart track, 1 mile track with 10 turns, the race goes for 10 laps. Okay. There is a rule in motorsports that when you're racing and the pack leaves the line, right, when we're out racing, if any one rider is so fast that he has lapped the pack, by the 4th lap, they will decide to throw the white flag telling you that this is the last lap of the race, a lap early. So the 5-lap race will be shortened to 4 laps, and a 10-lap race will be shortened to 9 laps. Now, why is this a problem? This is a problem if you and I are battling for 2nd and 3rd place. Scott is on the track.
You've lost a lap.
Scott has run away from us.
Yeah. Yes.
So Scott has run away from us, and we are no longer worried about Scott. We are worried about each other.
Right. The rest of the packs.
We are racing each other.
Get screwed.
So if I decide that I'm watching your lines, and I see where Sleepy turns, and I see in turn 7 that Sleepy tends to go wide in 7.
Yep.
So next lap on 7, I'm going to cut.
That's when I want to attack. Right.
I'm going to pass him on the inside.
Right.
So here we go.
Right. You've got lost a lap to do that, and if
we go
out of
past
nowhere you've lost your lap.
the tower, and we see a flag we shouldn't see yet.
Right.
We see a white flag.
It changes your plan.
And now we're like, whoa. I still had 2 extra laps to do this, and they say no. Once any rider has entered their last lap, the race is now cut short. So Scott, being so fucking fast, was denying all the rest of us laps.
Right.
So that all of us who were saying, like, you and I had a battle going on and we were going to make some shit happen, and we're coming around the tower and we see this, we see the white flag go up. Whoa. Is my math wrong? We've only been out here for 18 minutes.
Right. Like, at that point, assume if Smallwood's in the race, you have 1 less lap.
So,
I got a story for that.
We got so upset
Just assume. Just be like, all right, he's out there.
Well,
Fine,
we got so
one less
upset.
lap to deal with.
The rest of us who paid the money to be there. The rest of us who built motor scooters to be there. The rest of us that drove 10 hours from Cleveland to St. Louis to be there didn't want to give up 1/5 of our riding every time we went out on the track.
Right.
So you can see where this might seem like a triviality, but because of where we were in the pecking order of motorcycle racing organizations, we were the also-rans. We were the novelty group. We were the fun, haha, look at these idiots on scooters riding on the motorcycle track. But we went through all the same work to prep our bikes. We went through all the same money to buy our leathers. We had to get racing licenses. We had to do everything, so we had every right to be on the track as much as anyone else did.
Right.
And when we're on a track like Road America, when we're on a track like VIR, when we're on a track like Mid-Ohio or Summit Point, that's a pretty goddamn big deal.
Yeah.
To have somebody say, we're going to remove 25% of your experience on that track because this guy's too fast. Our racing organization started saying things like, okay, there's a new rule that says that Smallwood has to stop in lap 3 and bum a cigarette.
Oh yeah, this was not a joke. This was not a joke.
We all knew that Scott was fast, but we all knew that he hasn't bought a pack of cigarettes
Yeah,
in 20
and
years.
every time you went anywhere, hey brother, can I bum a smoke?
I was like, did you quit smoking? He said, well, I quit buying them.
Yes.
And,
I did that before too.
and
It
so
works decently well.
Scott, native fast guy, like insanely native fast guy. So the one race at Circleville, which is a 10-turn, give or take a mile course on your US Route 23.
Yeah.
And it's a good track. It's actually in pretty decent shape, and it's a fun technical track. And on the back straight, you can kind of get up to 60 miles an hour if you really nail it.
That's what Aaron just said in that last video.
Yeah, Circleville is a really fun track.
Yeah.
It's a really fun track. It's one of the best kart tracks I've been on. Beaver runs.
Still there?
No, they.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's not much left. anymore.
Circleville's.
The only tracks left seem like they're dirt tracks.
Beaver
anymore.
Run. So Beaver Run still has a really nice kart track. Beaver
We've
Run,
got a
Pittsburgh
kart track
International
not far
Speedway.
from here.
Oh, really?
East side of Cincinnati. A little bit outside the 275 belt.
When we were
It's
racing,
short though.
Smallwood had this incredibly shit hot small frame Ziri bike, the whole deal. And at some point, we were out there on one of our practice nights, and Scott's like, Phil, you got to take this thing out. Just take it out. And I was like, it's pretty. Like, the paint was nice because Scott had a relationship with the Russians across the street that painted things. And the paint looked good and everything was really nice. And I was like, I really don't want to crash your bike, man. And he's like, no, I'll take your bike out. You take my bike out. And I said, all right, that's fair. So we go out, and his bike was a specials class machine, good for 80 plus miles per hour. My bike was a stock class machine, P200, good for 65 miles an hour, but 70 if you didn't check the airbox too carefully.
Talk real hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk real hard.
Stock bikes were racing the rule book. Specials class, you can get away with anything you want. So all the guys that were racing in stock class were cheating in one way or the other, just hoping to not get caught. So I went out there, and Scott was riding my bike, and I was riding his bike. And how I knew that Scott was of a different caliber is Scott had never ridden my bike before. Now, if we all went to Hertz and we all rented the exact same car,
Right.
and these cars all had 10,000 miles on them, these cars would be very similar.
Yeah.
And it would be the skill of the driver that showed how good things were. In scooter racing, everybody's scooter is a different shade of fucked up.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a dialed in, feels like a brand new bike scooter racing.
Right, but you know your bike.
But you know your bike, and you know where it wiggles and where it shimmies.
Uh-huh.
And usually if somebody says, I'd like to loan you my bike because I'm hurt and I can't race, take my bike out on the track, you're usually like,
Yeah.
And you may figure it out, or you actually probably won't. But Scott took my bike and beat me handily with my own bike.
Really?
Lapped me
Oh yeah.
at Circleville. So by the fifth lap, he'd gone from getting in front of me. So it took him 5 laps to figure my bike out. And now, with small frames, you can lean them pretty far. But with P-Series, you can't lean them very far at all because the engine selector box, the gear transmission is on the right-hand side.
When you take a
So
right turn.
You can lean left-hand pretty good. The right-hand side...
You throw yourself way off on a right turn.
On the right-hand turn...
Yeah, you throw yourself way off.
On the right-hand turn, nobody's getting by you on the inside.
No.
Because your body's over here and the
Yes.
bike's over here.
Yes.
So Scott got around me on lap 5. Now, mind you, I'm on a bike that goes over 80 miles an hour. It has like 11,000 RPM red line.
Yeah.
Scott's
It was a monster.
on a bike that has a 7,200 RPM red line, right? And is heavier. And so he figures it out and he gets past me. So he gets past me in 5. By the 8th lap, he was on my ass. It took him only 3 laps to gain a mile and 10 turns on me. Now think about how fast he has to be going to gain a mile and 10 turns. So I come around turn 1 and he's showing me a wheel. He's going to pass me again.
It's a P.
Again.
All right.
It's a P.
On a P. And I was like, on
Oh,
my
yeah, it's
bike.
a P though. It's just like
My bike.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, the eye of the tiger that he has, he was willing to make me crash. Because remember, the driver in front has the right of way.
Right.
Okay? So if you're passing, you have to give the guy in front the right of way. So you can't say, well, I hit him in the process of passing him. Then you're going to get meatballed. You're out of the race, right?
Right.
So here I am getting ready for this beautiful right-hander. And Scott comes up on the inside. And there is this much track. So we are not going to be there. He was completely willing to hit his own bike and push me off the track into a low side, maybe a high side, on his own bike to pass me in a race that meant nothing because it was practice.
Right.
There was no trophies involved. It was just a Wednesday night practice. Nobody cared anyway.
Right.
That he was willing to destroy his own bike and put me in the hospital
Right.
for a race that meant nothing. And so when he came up on the inside of me, I saw him and I was just like, my brain functions like a normal brain. Self-preservation, realization of risk versus reward. And I went, no. And I blew my line and I went way the fuck left and I lost the whole turn and I ran
Off you
down.
went.
And he went through. And you know what? He still beat me because he was a lap ahead of me when he did
Yeah,
that.
right. It didn't matter.
He didn't matter. It didn't matter one bit. The point is, Scott Smallwood, do you know what he wanted to do? He wanted to lap me twice.
Oh, yeah.
And do you know who would care?
The only
Because nobody would understand it.
He's a
only
goal
person-
setter, man. He sets goals and then
The
hits them.
only person I've ever seen him give a run for his money is Dean. And Dean has been racing for 30 goddamn years.
And I actually will tell you that the only reason that Dean gave Scott a run for his money, and that was at Summit Point.
Yeah.
The reason for that is Summit Point is a 2.5 mile road racing course. It is extremely large. And Scott's bike was geared for a 10 turn 1 mile course.
Yeah.
So it could go 80 miles an hour, but not for a long period of time. Whereas Dean's bike was in stock class,
Now,
which when you put a 23 tooth clutch in your stock class bike, now your stock class bike becomes a pretty decent 80 mile an hour bike.
Dean has been racing, like I said, Dean's been racing for 30 years.
Yeah.
Dean has been racing at Summit Point
I was going to say, Dean taught
for
racing at Summit
30
Point.
years.
Right. Dean taught racing at Summit Point.
And I was talking to Dean, he said,
In fact, Dean was Mr. Summit Point.
I bought, he told me, so I bought 10 P200 top ends.
Yeah.
And I port matched
He blueprinted them.
every single one of them. I blueprinted,
He blueprinted
that motor to race at that track.
Yeah. And it was amazing.
And it was a 90 mile an hour P200.
Yeah.
It was not fucking around.
Really?
It was a
He
race
walked-
missile.
Really?
He walked past me. That
Top
bike-
end.
P200.
It's
stock.
P200. Yeah.
No.
Stock
Okay,
200 top end.
so I will, just to help you guys, Jesus Christ, let's not
I
get
need
into
to
this
know
fight.
more.
Please, look, because I can sit here and watch you guys go back and forth
Oh,
all day
yeah.
long.
No, I
He's
just
not
want to know
telling
more. I'm
you-
going to
I'm not telling you the whole-
about
I'm not telling you the whole story.
He's not telling you the real story.
I'm not telling you the whole
Okay. So the first thing we have to acknowledge is that the American P200s had a low compression head.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so every American P200 has a low compression head. So you start by buying a European head for your P200. Step 1.
Yep.
Step 2, you get rid of the American stator plate, you get rid of the American crank.
Yep.
You switch over to your Euro P stator, which now has much less weight.
Now,
Then you take your flywheel and
That
make your
much less
flywheel.
Really?
Ounces matter.
if you okay, hang on.
Yeah.
If you take an electric start P series flywheel, and you machine
mill
off
off the teeth.
machine the teeth off.
absolutely. Yeah.
It is now lighter.
That's a ton of weight
It is now
to take
lighter.
off.
Now,
yeah.
And
if
an
you
HP4
take
flywheel is illegal,
correct.
but a P200 flywheel
Now, if you
with
take
the ring machined off is legal.
if you take
Yeah.
a P series stator, you only need one coil
Yep.
and one pickup trigger.
Yep.
To
You're not
run,
running.
yeah.
You're not running the lights.
To run
Right.
racing, yeah.
And so all of a sudden, you have this magnetic resistance
Oh, yeah.
in that flywheel going around. So,
Better
and then
spark,
on
too.
top of that, you
Better
blueprint the motor
Oh yeah.
so that every single port is until it's literally touching cotton,
Yeah.
just about blown out,
Right.
right? And Dean's bike was fantastically fast.
Oh yeah.
And
Wow.
Dean
It wasn't gonna be fast long, but it was gonna be fast long enough.
Right.
and Dean
That's
knew-
racing though.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
And
that's-
Dean knew
Dean's
that
that
he
guy.
wasn't- Dean knew that he wasn't going to be racing at Mid-Ohio, and he wasn't going to be racing at Circleville,
Right.
and he wasn't going to be racing at all these other places, but he knew he was going to be racing at Summer Point.
Yep.
So when he put that bike together, he built that motor to literally be for that track.
Mhm.
And I said, after the second time we raced there, I said, can you let me take that thing out for a spin? Because I really want to feel the difference between the 22 tooth clutch and the 23 tooth clutch, right? And he goes, I don't have a 23 tooth clutch in there. And I said, dude, I wrote the rule book. It's right? And he goes, no, I don't have a 23 tooth. And I was like, yeah.
You're 23 clutch.
In order mathematically for a P200 to be going 80 miles an hour, you cannot sustain the number of revs that would be required unless you have a 23 tooth clutch. It's math, right?
Right.
And he goes, okay, check it out. I took that thing out and I expected it to be a pig until it got up to 50 miles an hour.
Right.
No, it was fucking solid power the whole way through.
Oh yeah.
And where any other P200 at about 70 would be like falling on its face, even for a perfectly built motor.
Right.
This thing
they
was
have a
still pulling.
stock. They have a stock because he probably put a T5 in it. A T5 top gear, fourth gear in it
the
too.
T5 fourth gear, we
Because
all. I had T5 fourth gear in mine. The hot combination was the 23 tooth clutch with the T5 fourth gear,
Okay.
and the Kosa 23
Dan,
tooth clutch.
You don't know this stuff?
No, I
This
don't.
This is old school
Yeah.
scooter boy
You
stuff.
guys
Yeah.
probably have been scootering
What's the
twice
green?
as long
What's the
as
green
I-
book?
But no, I need to
Nory
know
Kerr.
this.
Nory Kerr book.
Yeah. And then there's the two-stroke tuning.
And
Yeah.
A Graham Bell.
P200.
A Graham Bell.
Yeah,
So the A Graham Bell one- the A Graham Bell one is
and the
all
Nory
two-stroke.
Kerr books are the ones you need.
The Nory Kerr is
Okay.
P200 mostly.
Yeah.
Well, small frames too.
Send me links.
Just Nory Kerr.
Yeah, Nory Kerr. He's
N-O-R-R-I-E. Nory Kerr.
he's the one that built all the racing SS90s in Britain.
When he showed up at, are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. When he showed up at the Chattanooga, Tennessee Vespa Club of America rally, somehow the president of the Vespa Club of America got Nory Kerr on the phone and said, we'll fly you down over from England. We'll put you up in the hotel. And the Chattanooga Hilton or whatever it is at Chattanooga, Tennessee has railroad cars that you can sleep in. And you can rent a whole goddamn railroad car.
Yeah.
It's bigger than you think.
yeah.
And we had this beautiful pavilion a few blocks away from the hotel. And it was huge. It was a great place for a Maravespa because all the roads up there were twisty and beautiful. And a friend of mine, a friend of ours, her name rhymes with Selena. She was traveling with me on this adventure, and somehow there was a negotiation made that due to Chattanooga's puritanical strip club laws, meaning there were none, that if she showed me her boobs, I would give her money.
Did they have the 6 foot rule one? Okay. Yeah. Tennessee has a 6 foot rule now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure.
Dan knows all the rules
Dan's
from all
all
the
better.
different
Dan's all better.
states.
Your
I
A
know.
is better.
What I know for a
He's
fact,
checking his rules. He's
Yes,
like, wait,
it's
we're in
all
Alabama now. We
It's
can get
last
the
time I
foot.
was there at the strip club, I was told the 6 foot
on the
rule,
drive
and you get real good.
down to the thing, I had talked to Stan and I said, hey, we want to go to strip clubs tonight. And Dan's like, well, then you're in trouble because there aren't any. And I said, you're fucking kidding me. He goes, no, there aren't any. There's
So Stan.
Stan.
Yeah, okay.
And Stan's like, no, there aren't any. You're screwed. And I was like, oh.
Another ball.
Right. So I said, okay. well, and so we got to talking, and she goes, well, I'll tell you what. I said, well, I brought this stack of dollar bills with the express purpose of not leaving here with any of them. And if I can't have a strip club, I'm upset. I went to the trouble of getting all these singles for nothing. And she's a suffering college student. And she was like, well, I like money. And I have currency. Barter. And so that was funny. And so once we got down there and we're doing the thing, and I meet Nory Kerr, who's obviously one of my fucking heroes. And so I'm like, oh. And so I said, well, he's selling his books there and signing them. Super cool. And not charging anybody for the signature, of course. And I was just, it's great. And so we're sitting there and I'm talking to Nory Kerr. And I'm like, okay, I just have a question for you. When I've done 15 of these Melosi 210 kits, and I always put the Melosi 30mm carb on, and they always suck. Like, no matter what pipe I put on, they kind of suck. And like, why is it that Penasco does it better? Like, what's going on with that? And he's like, oh, okay. And he starts laying some knowledge on me.
Well, what did he say?
Like, I can't remember now.
Oh, God damn it, I want to know.
And so I can't remember the story because I was like, okay.
He's Bob Lazar of
It's great.
scooters. He's like the aliens. I saw them, but I can't remember.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
we'll come back to that.
Here's the punchline. The punchline is, I realize in this moment that the poor guy, his whole life is tuning Vespas.
Yeah.
And I just did the dipshit thing, right?
Oh,
it's like if you see Nathan Fillion asking him what it was like to be on Firefly, right? He's answered that question 93 million times.
Yeah.
The hammer is his penis.
He's very tired of that. So I realize that I'm that guy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I have to break the ice and I have to save the situation.
Yeah.
So I take $1 out of my pocket and I hand it to Nory Kerr. And Nory's like, what? And I said, he goes, what, you want me to sign this? And I said, no, I want you to give it to her. And he goes, what? And I said, give it to her. Just hold it up in front of her, give it to her. And he holds it up and she just... and Nory's face was priceless.
You're like,
I'm
sure.
$1 I have ever spent. Right? And so she dumped him out and took the $1. And I just said,
There you go.
I'm done. Yeah. And so a couple of times later in that day, when, because it's a big event, there's a lot of people there and we go for a while. So a couple of times later in that day, he kept finding us, I don't know.
You're smart.
And he'd keep finding us, and then he somehow produced $1. And she was just,
There you go.
there you go. And I was like, well, isn't that cool? But the thing is, the best thing was every time he'd come and find us, it was with another wingman.
Yeah.
So he had some other part of Vespa royalty with him
Yeah.
every time he'd come. And the one time it was, President of Piaggio USA. And he's like, Roy, you go see this trick, it's fucking great. And he's like, come on over here, Roy. Have you met my friend Phil? Yeah, I mean, yes, we have met Phil, that's great. Cool. Have you got a buck? Boom. And I was like, we made that so much fun. Yeah. It was cool, man. It was cool. We had a good time. That was one of those ones where it was like, Dan, you know what? I've got good friends.
Yeah.
Like we run in a good circle. If you buy raffle tickets at band camp, you're gonna see boobs.
Yeah.
There is just it. That is just like a whole thing about like, we want to sell you raffle tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what can we do to motivate them to buy raffle tickets?
Occasionally they're unfortunate. Moves.
No, there's no such thing.
No.
Okay.
No.
I totally
Not
disagree.
band camp.
At band camp, no.
Maybe
No.
for mine.
Yeah. At band camp though, it is guaranteed. It's just like, I will hold back on buying tickets at band camp until somebody lights the boob light. Because they start getting desperate around Friday night, Saturday morning maybe, and they're like,
Well, they drive around. They run around.
Yeah. And I like now the fact
around.
and now-
Come around.
and now they deliver boobs to you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Then they'll show up on the raffle bike and be like, here's
Yeah.
the raffle bike.
Here's the raffle
Isn't this
bike
great?
and my tits.
Boobs are great.
Yeah. And I'm like,
How
I
do
will
you
take
want
100.
all
Now-
of those?
Thanks. Now I have Psycho Stick stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is one of the-
Great.
And that's one of my.
Thank you.
So I have a question going
Yeah.
back about the P200 tank.
Yes.
So I understand the bigger sprocket on the clutch, 23.
Right. Yeah.
I understand
Bigger
that. So yeah, bigger teeth. Sorry.
Right.
But so they'd have to do more, right? You'd have to port. You'd have to get
Yes,
more. Like what
absolutely.
else?
Sure.
happened
Yeah.
there?
So
Like,
there's a whole
sure.
thing, right? You can have the gears, but you
Right.
got to pull the gears.
Right.
You know it is. You're a bicycle rider.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Well,
So here's the trick: you gain one tooth on the gear for the clutch,
right.
which there's only 22 teeth to start with.
Right.
Now you can also get a 20-tooth clutch, which makes the thing wicked fast out of the hole.
Right. Wheelie.
But it's going to top out at only 55 or so, which
Sure.
we use for sidecar rigs.
Yeah.
So that's our secret weapon for sidecars, making sidecars get out of the hole and get away from the red light, green light, nice and
Right.
quick. So the trick is if you just take a bone stock P200 and you flop a 23-tooth clutch on it, it's going to fucking suck getting
Yeah.
out of the hole.
Right.
So then you got to do something like expansion chamber exhaust, especially something with a big box, so you can have a nice bottom end torque.
Right.
So you have a nice torquey, big empty box kind of thing, not a high RPM expansion chamber,
Right.
but a more of a box, like a Cedo Plus kind of thing, or a Cedo road pipe.
S-
Which are-
SIP Road 2s are what they.
Yeah, SIP Road 2s are
I can
designed
hear
to give
that
you.
pipe. Yeah. I can
Yeah,
hear
they're
it.
designed to give you a nice torquey bottom.
Yeah.
Right? Not so much on the top end, but good on the bottom. So when you do that, but I feel like what Tom had brought up was the T5 fourth.
Yeah.
So the T5 fourth is the fourth gear, but it's short a tooth.
Mm.
So instead of it having 48 tooth, it has 46 tooth or something
When
like
you-
that. Yeah.
So that's why the T5 was such a hot
Oh, yeah.
shit fucking
Well, the reason the hot
thing to
shit.
be had.
So
Well,
the first thing was the name. So you know the name?
Yeah.
T5.
Yes. Yes.
The 5 stands for 5 ports.
Yeah.
And a Vespa
Yes.
had never had
Yes.
5 ports before.
So unlike the Stella that has 5 ports, the
Right.
T5 actually has an
real
aluminum top end and a shorter stroke crank.
Right.
with honest 5 ports.
With an honest
With
5
real
ports.
5 ports. Yeah.
Because it's an aluminum cylinder with the 5 ports, so you're already dealing with
Right.
a lot less.
Frictional loss.
I think it's more inertial mass.
It is.
And you're also dealing with a lot better heat transfer. So you've got a lot less heat going through because the aluminum is just going to push that heat out anyway.
Sure.
And then you got the 5 ports that are all just fucking crazy.
So I built a cheater motor. So Merritt and I had gone to Germany for our honeymoon. And whilst we were in Germany, I went to Scooter Center Cologne, in Cologne, Germany. And talking to the folks there, I said, what I need is I need a T5 motor that I can just buy from you and put in a box and send to America. And they went,
Not that heavy.
well, and I said, it's okay. I was in the military, and I know there's a military base here. I can go there, and I can actually ship it to the United States Postal System, just like shipping something. So they I said, so it has to be stock. It can't have a Melosi kit.
Can't be the 172.
It has to be a stock 125. But after that, the world's your oyster. And he goes, I've got just the one for you, right? I said, great. And I give him a certain amount of, at the time it was Deutschmarks. And so I give him the money. I get the motor. I take the heavy parts off because it has to be less than 60 pounds, I think. Put it in a box, label it books, and mail it from the Army Post Office, APO, back to America. Cost me like $23, $30. And then I take all the other parts and put them in my check baggage. Might not have been such a good idea.
Sure.
Turns out they were greasy. I mean, they had been around grease.
Yeah.
They'd been around gas. And they set off everything.
I was going to say, they're probably magnetic.
Whatever.
Because the
point is,
flywheel is so fucking heavy. You're going
I
to take
got
that.
to meet.
How long ago was that?
This was 2000.
2000.
I got to meet the security at Frankfurt Airport. Because I was getting to go on the plane, and they said, Mr. Waters? And they called me aside. They said, what is this? And I said, das ist ein Auspuff. They said, what? And I said, that's an exhaust. And he says, what is it? I said, it's an exhaust. Das ist ein Auspuff für ein Motorroller.
Yeah.
And he goes, Motorroller? I said, yeah, Vespa. Vespa T5. And he goes, and he holds up the kickstart lever. And I go, that's a kickstart lever for Vespa. And he's like, warum? Like, why do you have this? I said, because I'm a Vespa guy, and we don't have those in America.
Right.
And meanwhile, I was just being too cheap to leave anything behind. I didn't want to buy stuff there, at home. And he's got the carburetor, the Vergasser, and the whole deal, because the carburetor in a T5 is a 2626, 2 millimeters bigger than the standard P200. So I build this bike. I take this P200 frame, and I cut every molecule of steel out of that frame that wasn't necessary. I mean, I'm in there cutting everything out of it. And I hang this T5 motor in it, and I can spin this T5 motor up to 9,500 RPM. No problem.
Wow.
And this is I machined the flywheel down to wafer, right? Took all the coils out of it, and it's a no battery bike to begin with. So, yay! So I make this the lightest fucking super Leggero Vespa that anybody's ever seen. I cut giant holes in the hubs so they can cool better, right? For safety. Because in our rule book, you could modify the vehicle for safety. You couldn't modify for speed or performance, but you could modify for safety.
Right.
So I had done an aggressive lightning campaign, and I had removed a lot of mass in the form of speed holes. And I went out on the track with our friends, and I was like, we're going to do great. And And when I got out there, I realized that bike got up to 65 miles an hour like it was on fire, but it would not go 66. And Dean just fucking ran past it. He went plaid.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, hey. And the backstreet at Summit Point is about an hour long.
Yep.
Hey. And Dean goes, hey. And I was like, oh, fuck.
So what did you do wrong?
I didn't have enough gearing for my RPM.
Yep.
I had tons of RPM.
Yep.
I could have suffered some more gearing. However, there's only so big you can go inside of the gearbox of a Vespa.
You can make a Vespa do 100 miles an hour.
Allegedly.
It will take you a very, very long time to get there because in order to get the gearing to go 100 miles an hour.
I still don't think mathematically there's enough space for it.
It's not.
I went in there with paint and I painted over every fucking gear contact surface in that thing, and I tried swapping shit out, and there was interference marks on everything. And I'm like, yep, I can't go any bigger. I've got as much gear in here as I have as much gears as will fit inside the motor.
The nerd that will tell you exactly the math involved is Rob Hodge.
Well, unfortunately.
And his math is crazy. Like, it's all just fucking hypothetical physics of, well, I'll just have somebody make me gears. I'm like, Hodge, stop.
He got blackballed.
What is his profession that he would even think like that?
Nut job.
Really?
Yeah. No, he's a nut job.
He's a very intelligent guy.
Oh,
when
yeah.
I met him, he was a Christian camp counselor.
Yep.
And he sailed a boat like across the Pacific.
He's working it,
And he's a very super smart guy.
Yeah.
I mean, super smart guy, super nice guy, like one of the nicest guys I ever met. Super skilled mechanic.
Yep.
But he's also the guy that's like, I want to race scooters, and all I have is that 73 times crashed Allstate in the corner with 8-inch wheels.
Yep.
And you're like, that's not even allowed on the track.
Yep.
We got a variance so we could run 10-inch wheels. And he goes, that's okay, I'll put 10-inch wheels on it. And we're like, but then, I get a lot of other things you got to do. And he's like, that's okay, I'll do it. And so he does it. And the bike he presents with, and we're trying to get the respect of these racing organizations. So we have tech. We have to tech things.
So you see the curtains that are behind Phil.
Yeah.
If you threw yellow paint at those curtains and then some black paint at those curtains on top of the yellow paint, that is almost the color of his original Allstate.
His Allstate. Luke took a ball peen hammer and went after it for days.
Yeah.
So the first time we went on the track, the track officials approached me. I was the race director. And the track officials went, hey, we got a problem with bike number 111. I said, we all have a problem with bike 111. And he goes, the rest of you guys seem to have it figured out. Safety wire, no glass, no center stands, none of those. And he's like, I just don't think that's safe. Like, he's like, he goes, we watched the guy fire it up in the pits, and panels are just flapping, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's Rob. And he goes, well, what do we, we can't let him on the track. And I said, do me a favor, walk with me. And the guy who was the race director at the time that we were piggybacking on was a really nice guy.
Right.
And I said, Kevin, walk with me. And that was we were
Mid-Ohio?
piggybacking with Championship Cup
Okay.
Series.
Yeah.
So we were piggybacking with Championship Cup Series, which is a legitimate racing organization on the East Coast. And he walks me over to Rob's bike, and he's like, okay, we have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. That is going to rip somebody's leg off. We have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. And all the things he was pointing out are legitimate safety concerns.
Oh, yeah.
If this bike were to hit you, it would fucking kill you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, all right. Thank you. Duly noted. And I went over to Rob and I was like, you got to do this, 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 and this, or you can't go on the track. Okay. So Rob's not an angry guy. He's not here to fucking.
Oh, no.
And so Rob grabs the duct tape and he just starts like doing it. He's going after it. So he's going after it. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So okay, scooters practice. Oh yeah, practice. They're going to give us 30 fucking minutes. Everyone else gets an hour. Like I said, we didn't get treated well. We go out for practice. Rob tries to win practice.
Yep.
Don't try to win practice. Rob goes, you're supposed to recon the track and get to know the track and figure out whatever. Rob is going hell-bent for leather. And by the way, Rob was in specials class on an all-state. And at the time was still on 8-inch wheels.
Yep.
Right? On a pogo stick front end kind of thing.
Yep.
Not the right bike for the job. So Rob goes out and is just like fucking dangerous. Like everybody is just like, ah! Well, the race director is like, okay, who's that guy? Now there's a flag in motorsports that is a black flag that has a red circle in the middle of it. The flag is called a meatball. And if you get a meatball, if you see a meatball flag waved, you better pray that they're pointing at the guy next to you. Because if they're pointing at you, that means you get to leave the track right now.
Yeah.
And have a talking to. And so
Yep.
Rob got meatballed, which meant I was going to get talked to. So Rob got meatballed in practice. And the race director says he's never thrown a meatball flag in practice. Because in practice, none of the corner workers are even carrying flags. It's just practice.
Right.
You don't need to tell somebody, oh, you're being passed or whatever. Like that. So I got to go in, and they're like, he's dangerous. And they're like, you got to cool your jets. And meanwhile, nobody in our organization has our racing licenses yet. Because in the organization, you got to complete 5 races to get your license.
Yeah.
So Rob has no license. I have to go in, I have to have a talk with Rob. And I'm like, Rob, you got to chill out. He's like, I'm trying to get to know the bike and the whole deal and everything else. And I was like, oh man, like, we already look like a bag of assholes. We're wearing like Pakistani leathers that still smell like goat piss. Like, we are not the cool guys. He's wearing Doc Marten boots on the racetrack, right? Gives you an idea. So we have a talk with Rob. We go back out. This is the real race. We go out in the real race. And yeah, Rob gets the red mist pretty quick, and he's just throwing elbows and just really working his way through the field. And granted, some of the bikes he's racing against are 235cc Lambretta with Yamaha pistons, Suzuki pistons, like legitimately fast fucking bikes that were West Coast racing bikes that were sold to us secondhand, and were fast. Like they were put together machines. Rob's not going to hear any. He's just going. So he gets meatballed. So we flash forward a couple of races, and I am doing pretty good. And I was always usually number 1 or number 2 in stock class. And I'm a pretty consistent racer, but I have a lot of laps behind me, so I should be. So the one time we're racing, and I see this shadow out of my right eye, and sure as shit, it's Hodge. We are not even in the same class. I'm in stock class. He's in specials class. Him passing me means nothing. Me passing him means nothing.
Oh, okay.
Why does he need to make a dangerous pass? He's out there fighting for 5th place with somebody he might not even be able to see.
So wait, so specials and...
Sometimes we go on the track at the same time. If we had less than 12 riders, we all went on the track at the same time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
So if we had less than 12 riders, we all went on the track at the same time.
Right.
If we had 14 riders, we do a class of specials and a class of stocks. Whatever it was to help, make it safe.
Right.
So Hodge tries to pass me on the inside. And I'm like, no. This turn tightens up. There's going to be nowhere for you. I have my line. So I hold my line and I close the door on him. Okay. So the next time we come around, he tries to pass me the lap before that, the turn before that. He goes super tight on the inside, which he cannot hold. He goes super tight on the inside, low sides his bike, falls off on the track, slides, and I ran over his head. Hard. Like not even a little. It dented my entire bike in. I hit his head so hard, the picture shows my bike a good 6 inches in the air. Right? He demanded that he be allowed to go back on the track with that helmet on. And the race director's like, no. You are done today. You are done. You were literally run over by another guy. You're not going back on the track today. And he was like, I'll borrow a helmet from somebody else. And the race director was like, I don't care. We stole his bike from him at Chicago Rally.
Yep.
We distracted him somehow. And a bunch of us stole his bike. And we ran it off into the woods and we painted it black. With 12 cans of paper, spray paint. Yep. We painted it black and we put the numbers on. We did a better job on the numbers than he did.
Yep.
We gave him the yellow background. We gave him his numbers. The bike actually looked really good, considering it was done in the night with flashlights with mosquitoes around.
Yeah.
Like, it was a really decent paint job. And so once we kind of given it a couple of hours to tack up and dry, right? We give it a few hours. We're like, okay.
Dude, Krylon in like the AM, like the
dude,
dawn
this
coming
was
up and moisture everywhere.
So we painted it at 3 a.m. We painted it at 3 a.m. The humidity was about here,
Right.
out in the middle of some field in Chicago, outside of Chicago.
Oh, dude.
And we rolled the bike back out because he would ride that thing everywhere. Like, it was not remotely street legal.
No.
Put a plate on it, go. So we rolled the bike out, and he's like, and somebody, I don't know who it was like, did you see your bike yet? What do you mean? Oh. Did you see your bike yet? Oh, where's my bike? He goes, oh, that's fucking bullshit. He was pretty upset about it right off the tick. And I was like, I would not have been upset.
Yeah.
I would not have been upset. It was a good 20-footer at that point. Originally, though, Tom's not wrong.
No,
If you took these curtains and wrinkled them up and smashed them, and then wrapped it around a scooter, that's pretty much what it looked like.
Yeah.
It was like 4 different types of red paint on the same bike. It was pretty bad. But yeah, I think it was the best in the dark paint job by flashlights I'd ever done. Yeah.
So did the bike stay like that for a while? Or what
It did.
happened to
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah, he raced it that way for a while. Yeah, he raced it that way for a minute. It was fine.
Did he get any more rule compliant as
He
time
did. We
went on?
settled him down a little bit. We settled him down. We settled him down. He eventually relaxed into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Merritt had a funny thing with him because when Merritt would race, Merritt's all business, right? Especially on the racetrack. And so Merritt would really not like being around him sometimes. He'd be a little rowdy, right? So he'd be a little rowdy. And Merritt came in off the track one time and she goes, Haji, come over here. And I was like, did you just call him Haji? And she goes, and work with me. And I was like, oh shit. So he comes over and he goes, look. And she said, like, I understand you may have nothing to lose. And she says, but I want to live a good, long life. And I don't want to have broken bones. I don't want to do anything. I am out here for the sport.
Yeah.
This is not a gladiator game for me. We're not accepting that there will be blood. She said, I'm here to have fun. And if you're out here for blood, I don't want you anywhere near me. And she said, so if you would just do me the kindness, if you're going to act like a maniac, when you see my bike, please go wide. Right? And I think he legitimately said, okay.
That was it?
Because he doesn't have a mean bone in his body.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't. And I said, that went really well.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, good. And I was like, okay.
Dude,
and he chilled out earlier.
Really?
Becky met him at band camp like two years ago.
Yeah.
It's like about 2 years ago. Becky met him. And she's like, he's a really nice guy.
He's a fantastically
he's
nice
a
guy.
great guy. He's Hodge.
Yeah. He's biblically good guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sometimes when you want somebody to change their behavior, you just have to fucking say the words and tell them.
You're exactly right.
And
Exactly right.
he literally, again, too smart for his
We used to
own
call, when he showed up on the scene, we called him Farmer Skin.
Yeah.
Because he'd get to scooter rallies and immediately take his shoes off. And he would just do the whole scooter rally with no boots on, no shoes on, no nothing, and just be straight up into the dirt, like loving it, right? And so somebody started calling him Farmer Skin, and we thought that was funny. We thought we get a
What
good
didn't help
kick
if he
out
wore
of
plaid shirts and like overalls.
that. He did. He was dressing out of the Ben Sherman playbook, right?
Yep.
But he was just, and he's still a great fucking guy to this day. Super one of the nicest, and legitimately loyal, sweet, good mechanic.
Oh yeah.
Guys you're ever to meet.
Well, he was Genuine's head mechanic for.
Cheers, man. Good seeing you again.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
yes.
Daddy Dan.
You guys want to meet him next time.
Daddy
Hey, brother.
Dan, good to see you.
Yes.